Bob Iger came back to Disney with one goal in mind: to make streaming profitable for the Disney company. He has made cutbacks and layoffs, even bringing an ad-supported tier to Disney Plus, all with the hopes of bringing profitability. And on the Q4 earnings call, Bob Iger accidentally let some numbers slip about the streaming service, particularly the advertising numbers, saying that Disney Plus subscribers take the ad-supported tier in the US 37% of the time and globally 30% of the time. We know this was a slip because of what he said next to Hugh Johnson, the CFO.
Huge presence in India. Going forward, we will have...
I don't know if I was supposed to disclose those AVOD numbers.
We'll have a...
Advertisers video on demand are the numbers that Bob Iger is talking about there. And we're going to be talking about those advertisers today because there's been some major changes to what advertisers want and don't want. And I think part of it is back to this earnings call, but even more so, it's that there are no eyeballs actually going to Disney Plus, and advertisers are pulling out like crazy. Two of the biggest draws for Disney Plus have been Marvel and Lucasfilm, but if you look at the most recent products that they've put forward onto the Disney Plus platform, things have not been that great. We're seeing the numbers drop and drop consistently from how many people are watching these shows and how many people are now canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, and it has advertisers worried. We're going to take a look at an article from that place that outlines all of this, looking at an insider in the industry who knows what they're talking about when it comes to advertising and advertising money. Disney Plus advertisers abandon ship as Star Wars and Marvel shows underperform. Disney Plus is facing significant challenges as advertisers reportedly pull their campaigns from the platform. The streaming service's original content has failed to meet the impression thresholds outlined in ad contracts, creating dissatisfaction among advertisers. What does that mean? That means there's a minimum threshold of what these advertisers want to see in terms of numbers. It doesn't make sense to run ads on things that no one is looking at. That if the millions of viewers that were there for things like Mandalorian are not there for the shows that are coming out now, like Acolyte and unfortunately Skeleton Crew, which is far better than the previous aforementioned show, it just doesn't make sense for ad money to go into what's happening. Now you couple that with what Bob Iger had already said, that even only 37% of those watching on Disney Plus even use the ad tier. So now it's a percentage of a percentage. Advertisers probably would have a better chance making money off of advertisements by running a sponsorship on a YouTube channel as opposed to running it on Disney Plus. It continues. It says, the ad-supported tier of Disney Plus was intended to solve the company's streaming challenges. And this is right on. You can go deeper into the details of all of it. And in fact, I have a video. I'll link it at the end here, but also down in the comments, down in the description below, that goes through how Disney Plus is actually ruining the creativity of Disney as a whole, as a company. I think you'll be interested in that. I'll talk more about that later. But it says, however, low audience engagement with major Star Wars and Marvel shows has led to below average impressions. People aren't opening Disney Plus and watching on Disney Plus. In response, Disney is reportedly trying to shift advertisers to broadcast television in an effort to retain their business and avoid costly refunds. They're admitting, based on this source, they're admitting that Disney Plus advertising is failing. So to not lose the contract and have to refund what they've already gotten, which is the whole point of making streaming profitable by 2024, but they're going to have to do that. They're trying to make them go to the television side, where there probably is more impressions because people still have cable. And now, whether you like it or not, again, some of this is coming from Valiant Renegade YouTube channel and his connections inside the industry. I don't take everything he says as gospel, but I think he has a very reliable source under Kiss My Grits as an advertising professional speaking anonymously provided insight into Disney's struggles. And here's the meat of it. Listen, basically what is happening with Disney Plus is Disney Plus is struggling right now to fulfill the obligations that it's promising to its advertisers. KMG explains, citing conversations with industry contacts in New York City. And what I mean by that is wherever you agree to advertise on a platform like Disney Plus, you're always guaranteed a certain amount of impressions, a minimum threshold that you're going to say, no matter what happens with this show, we're going to get this many eyeballs at least, right? It's worth your money. And the same would be true if I do an advertisement or a sponsorship here on this channel. Let me know what sponsorships you'd like to see. I've kind of been diving into some of that, but what's something you're interested in? Maybe I can find you a deal. Who knows? But he says, well, Disney Plus is struggling to fulfill the obligations that they have been promising, so they're under-delivering by vast amounts on several of the campaigns they are running on that platform. And as a result of what is happening is the advertisers are obviously not very happy. And so they're pulling money from those campaigns. They're saying, all right, if you're not meeting the delivery that you promised me, I'm placing that money elsewhere. As they should. That's the whole point. The only way, and we've seen this with YouTube, we've seen this with Netflix, we've seen this with Disney Plus, and the reasons things like TikTok and the adpocalypse on Twitch, like advertisers are fickle. Advertisers are only in it for the bottom line. And if it doesn't make sense for their involvement and their participation and their money to be put to something there, then they're going to back out. If they don't want their ads shown next to a certain type of content, they're going to back out. We're seeing that in Twitch. We saw that earlier a few years ago, what happened with YouTube, the adpocalypse. And now the adpocalypse is hitting streaming because I think Disney Plus has maxed out. I think Disney Plus has gotten as much of the market share as it's going to get. Really, think about it. Who is going to subscribe to Disney Plus that hasn't already? Bluey is the most streamed show, and as a family with young kids, I can attest, we love Bluey. Bluey is actually really well written. Bluey is interesting, and Bluey is what kids love. That my kids don't want to turn to Disney shows and Disney content. They just want to watch Bluey. So when we canceled Disney Plus this past year, guess what I did? I went out and bought Bluey DVDs, actual physical media. The article continues, says the ad tier subscription numbers are nowhere near what they assumed they were going to get. Valiant highlighted Disney's immense streaming costs, emphasized 4 shows, Acolyte, Loki Season 2, Secret Invasion, and Andor, that collectively cost the company $1 billion to produce. Whoa, that's crazy. Despite this investment, none of these shows topped streaming charts and received an average audience score of just 57.8 on Rotten Tomatoes. The problem is there's not enough eyeballs to make this worth it. The problem was, as we pointed out, especially with Andor, which is now a year and a half ago, that the audience simply didn't justify the expense that was made to produce the show. Those 4 shows combined to cost Disney $1 billion in production, and that doesn't include whatever Disney Plus then spent to advertise these shows. And so here, again, I've been saying this, I'm going to keep saying this, I'm going to sound like a broken record. The only way for this stuff to make sense is if these shows that were actually planned to be movies get turned into movies, good movies. But you can't take a show and turn it into a movie. It doesn't go that way. We saw that with Moana 2, and it wasn't very good. But you also can't take a movie script and turn it into a TV show. That doesn't work either. We saw that with Kenobi. So what you need to do is scrap the idea of trying to get more subscribers. The people that are on Disney Plus are going to be there. Instead, you need to turn your focus to theatrical releases, things like Mandalorian and Grogu, things like the Dawn of the Jedi movie coming up, and whatever good ideas you can pull from there. Hopefully not the Rey trilogy. I'm hoping that that just goes away. But that, I think, is the only way forward from a Star Wars perspective, and even, too, from a Marvel perspective. Bob Iger has said as much. They're cutting back on content. They're cutting back on these things going out to Disney Plus, and so you shouldn't be surprised that advertisers pull the money. So where's this going? I think this is leading to an eventual Disney Plus collapse. And actually, that might be a really good thing for Disney. And if you want to hear more about that, click right here on the video where I break that all down. Guys, thanks for being here. If you're new to the channel, subscribe on your way out. I'll see you over on that video. Remember, the Force will be with you always.